Catherine Herridge, thank you very much. Let's bring in Amber Barno. She is a former Chief Warrant Officer, too, with the U.S. Army, and Chief Barno served in Iraq and Afghanistan as a helicopter pilot. She's now a military advisor at the organization Concerned Veterans for America. Chief Barno, thank you for being with us today. First of all, no doubt you're hearing kind of a growing drumbeat of criticism about how many details were released about this mission. You've done reconnaissance. Tell me your first thoughts.
I was shocked to hear the leak. While I'm thankful that there was a rescue attempt for James Foley and the other Americans being held by ISIL, it never, ever should have been leaked. Revealing the types of TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures that went into this operation have serious consequences for not only future operations, but for American hostages and for the operators involved in these missions. The enemy is watching and listening to our every move, and we essentially just handed them the manual for how we carry out these tasks.
All right, so you bring up an excellent point, because if you have watched the video, and I have, and parts of it I wish I could unsee, but it's part of what we do as journalists. We need to know before speaking. So I watched that video, the beheading of James Foley, and you see while he is down, they then march out the second American journalist, Steve Lotkoff. And so, Sutloff, excuse me. And so what we've got there is potentially the next round of this, and the threat from the terrorists that they will kill him if we don't stop our airstrikes. And you mentioned, does this jeopardize then anything that we might do to set him free or potentially any other Americans taken?
Yeah, if I was in the special operations community or the family members of the hostages who are being held, I would be absolutely furious right now. And I can only imagine that within those communities that they possibly feel yesterday when the information was leaked, similar to the way they felt the day after the Osama bin Laden raid details came out. This is their lives. They make sacrifices each and every day that are extremely dangerous, and they are quiet professionals. They do it without acknowledgement or recognition because their lives depend on it. So when the DoD comes forward with this type of information, sort of to just cover what they thought some news agencies were going to come out and reveal the information, the fact that they came out with the details that they did is the damage is irreversible.
You served in Iraq. What's the morale like? Can you estimate, or have you talked maybe to friends and colleagues who are still serving at this point, knowing that after all of the blood and treasure that we spent in Iraq, the president pulled out combat troops, and now we're rolling kind of right back in that motion as they're beheading Americans and rolling across Iraq?
Well, I know from my own experience and a lot of Iraqi veterans that I have spoken with, a lot of them feel as we left before the mission was complete, and now we're dealing with the consequences. The rise of ISIL, the use of military force again in Iraq is a result of a too soon withdrawal, and now not only the Iraqis, but we're seeing Americans involved in this conflict, and it's a disappointment that sometimes politics play into these wars instead of just going in. There's no diplomatic solution to ISIL. We have to remember that. We are dealing with savages. We do not negotiate with these types of people. They need to be absolutely crushed, and that's what we need to make sure our priority is in Iraq.
Chief Barno, talk to me about how we're handling it tactically. You said tactics, techniques, and procedures. Talk to me about what's happening right now that's being effective and what more we need to do.
Right. So President Obama said that there is no place for a group like ISIL in the 21st century, and I completely agree. So what we need now is we need strategy and leadership and resolve to make sure that happens. So we have seen the U.S. Airstrikes and against ISIL, and really they have been efficient temporarily in pushing ISIL's advancements. But that is not a long-term strategy. We need to ensure that we continue with the airstrikes and with special forces on the ground, especially with laser designation of target. It improves these airstrikes as well as limits collateral damage. So we really need to ensure that there is a long-term military strategy there.
Chief Barno, we have just seen Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel sit down.